separate yourself and still say, I mean, just it seemed like like an opportunist type shit. Like,
So going back to the clip, what's the lady's name that does us Meet the Press? You always gotta tell me. Anyway, she asked the dumbass question: do you think this will weigh heavy on the Democrats, um, because they're not doing a good job at vetting? Hence why Bloom said what he said, saying they aren't doing it and they're messing up the Democratic Party. By making that statement, making it seem like he can get away with it. He really can get away with it because I've never read a news. But when the damn stuff came out, he came out saying it closer to the polls. The stuff that did come out was the Nazi tattoos being put on the windows
Senate. So that was the choice. It was a binary. That ultimately what happened. And, Janet Mills dropped out. And now look what happened. Now they just have to pick somebody who is probably, holds the similar issues as Plattner, but doesn't have the baggage. And it looks like it's probably going to be Troy Jackson, the guy who was interviewed.
And I think that Plattner dropping out today is good for the Democratic Party, and it makes it more likely. And in fact, if you go to Polymarket, which everyone in this room should, the fact that Plattner dropped out has led the betting markets to bet on Collins being more likely to be defeated. So if you're sitting in this room and your only priority is seeing Susan Collins defeated, you should be celebrating that Plattner dropped out.
I literally didn't even get a chance to look in what Scotty said. Like, Scotty, can you remember just the last thing you said? Oh my God.
Her age?
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I was just trying to.
About it being a binary, and I think it was mentioned in the chat. It was actually a good point. Janet Mills didn't want to. I mean, she was asked to run. People were fine with her running, but it didn't have the enthusiasm behind it. And she didn't have the enthusiasm either. Like, she can retire and live a good life. But she thought she was doing right, by Maine to try to be the one to defeat Susan Collins. But it became a binary between new guard, old guard, DSA supported, man of the people, all this other stuff. And they put all of these things in a bag and said, hey, we're going to, go for this guy. And then the rape allegations came out. So Troy Jackson, who was the one who was interviewed, is probably the right guy because he's been in Maine for quite some time, actually probably his whole life, and he has been in public office, I believe state senates. He just ran for governor. He came in third, but he got the most same-day votes. So it seems to be the right choice for them. So I'm actually happy that Plattner's out, really care for him. But so Troy Jackson, maybe.
There you go. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to just say, I think we can all agree there is no perfect candidate. But at the end of the day, you need to go and vote for whoever the Democrat is if you want to get rid of Susan Collins. And so I don't think she polls well among women. Not sure about men, but I agree with you that Jackson is probably going to be the best one to try to defeat her. But it still takes going to the polls. So at the end of the day, had it end up being Plattner, they needed to go vote for him, if they didn't want her. So, but I am glad that he's out of the race.
And can someone tell us about taking over the Senate? They need, the Democrats need maybe 3 or 4 seats, and Maine is one of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, need 4.
They need 4. Okay.
Yeah, Maine is one of them, but also keeping the Michigan seat. That's the other bad answer.
I mean, they don't have to have Maine. Maine is just more gettable. There are others, they don't have to have.
Okay.
I mean, the toss-up ones or the ones that are in play, they say, are North Carolina,
Georgia,
Ohio, Iowa, Texas, and
Georgia,
Maine, and Alaska. That depends on them holding Georgia and Michigan. So of those 6, I think I named 6. They need to hold the 2 and flip 4, because right now the Senate is 53-47. 52-47. Mitch McConnell is with the ancestors. I'm done speaking.
I thought it might be harder for Texas and Iowa. And it's going to be a harder target for it.
It is. I'm saying those are the ones that are flippable. They're not going to flip.
Right. But Ohio, I'm with you on.
Yeah, speaking of Texas, the race is pretty close here, but no one's talking about the sins of what's his face running against Talarico. So it's the dynamics are just really weird. How in one state, well, you guys know the Republicans are talking about how terrible the Democrats are for picking Plattner, and here in Texas, I don't know why I can't say his name, running against Talarico, running neck and neck with him, and he Paxton, he's literally a criminal. I mean, he's a real criminal. So, Homer, what do you have to say about the Texas race? You know anything about that one?
You nervous?
Yeah. I think that they should have nominated Beto O'Rourke again. I think if Beto O'Rourke was the nominee, and I'm happy to hear criticism, if Beto O'Rourke was the nominee, he would be kicking that criminal piece of shit Paxton's ass. But because the voters of Texas chose low T Tallarico, I think they're guaranteed to lose. So fuck them for not nominating Beto.
They didn't nominate Beto because he didn't run. What are you talking about?
I was actually asking about the Paxton. Are Republicans shit for, are they the same level of shit in Texas? I'm not talking about the Democrat. I'm not talking about the Democrat.
Okay, I'm answering you. Anyone of any party who voted for Paxton is a piece of shit because Paxton is a criminal. I'm fucking done speaking.
Is the Republican Party going to hell in Texas?
I think it's evil to nominate Paxton.
Is the Republican Party going to hell like the Democrat?
I hope everyone who voted for Paxton goes to hell immediately.
Okay.
This will get in the wash. I think the guy that they're going to run, if it's Jackson or whomever, I don't think Janet Mills is going to be the nominee. She could be, I have no idea. I don't think she wants to. I think she just figured I think she's 79. Isn't she like her late 70s?
Yeah, I think she's like 78 or something like that.
Yeah, 70, 79. She's been the governor. I think she's done. That's the first piece. The second piece is there's no telling where these seats are going to go. I don't see Georgia flipping. I don't see Michigan flipping. But, we could look up. It could be 40, 51, 49. It could be 50, 50. 50, 50 is probably a good number. Could be 41, 49, 51 the other way. Republicans could gain 2. Could be 55, 55, 45. It's just, I think the fact that it's in play speaks to the unpopularity and the dissatisfaction of the voters, because this is supposed to be a map that the Democrats should not have had a chance to flip. I don't know what's going to go on in Texas. I'll be honest with you. I think the Hispanic voters are really flocking to Tallarico. And I think we do not have, let me speak for myself. I do not have a handle on the Latino vote. I don't speak Spanish. Of the Romance languages, major Romance languages, it is my least. That's the one I'm least good at. So I don't know anything about Spanish. I didn't see the Latino men voting for Trump. To be fair to me, no one did. Anybody pretending like they did is lying, because nobody talked about that before the election. So I don't know what's going to happen. I just know that Tallarico got more votes in a primary than the Republicans did. I know that more Democrats voted in the primary than Republicans did. I don't think that's happened in Texas in decades. I don't know what any of it means. I know that the immigration reckoning is coming, and it's going to start in 2026. We saw it in 2025 a little bit when all those counties that had swung to the right towards Trump in 24 swung crazy back because they didn't like the way that they were picking up. We don't listen to Meet El Preso. We don't, guys, Cristiano Walker coming straight de Masando. Blah, blah, blah. We don't know. We don't know. We have no idea here, at least. So I don't know. So I think that could go anywhere. I think the one race out in here that we don't talk about here because, well, we talk about a little bit to be fair. I think Iowa could be a flip. Iowa was not supposed to be in play because uh, no one thought Jody Ernst was retiring. The Democrats nominated somebody who's really well liked across the state, and he's been leading in every poll, including outside the margins. I think in the most recent one, he's up 4 points. And the governor's up even more. Iowa experimented with MAGA, with Trump, and they might be done with go back to Democrat. You remember, I think Obama won Iowa twice. I don't think anybody knows. I'm done speaking.
Yeah, to that point, Iowa is, I mean, I guess maybe used to be purple. I mean, they had Tom Harkin. They definitely elected Democrats, so it wouldn't be surprising to me if they went back.
They got hit really hard with the tariffs. I don't know if people remember. The tariffs were really, really bad in Iowa. A lot of people live in urban enclaves, or you work in a field, healthcare, or education, or business, or whatever. You don't see it, and so maybe we don't. These people, but there are states whose economies, swing voters depend on stuff that only affect us insofar as broccoli goes up, 30 cents a head, 0.4 cents a floret or whatever, and we don't see it. But a 4-point swing in one direction or the other, you get a Democrat in the Senate. They did elect the Democrats in the Senate in our lifetime. Like you said, Harkin was there for a long time. Obama definitely won it in 08, maybe won it in 12. I don't know. I'm just giving my opinion. I'm not standing in the gap for anybody. I'm not doing politics. I'm only giving my opinion. I'm not defending the Democratic Party. I'm not an expert. I'm only giving my opinion. I'm done speaking.
All right, all right, all right. Hi, you there? Hi, are you there? I don't think she's there. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm trying to clean dishes and I had to dry my hands. I thought you was cooking. Yeah, I'm cooking too. All right, let me go ahead and play the rest of Meet the Press. Hold on. All right.
And the turmoil in the Middle East, the panel is here to break it all down next. You're watching Meet the Press now. Welcome back. Joining me now is our panel, Sahil Kapoor, NBC News national political reporter, Ashley Etienne, Meet the Press contributor and former communications director for Vice President Kamala Harris, and former Republican Congressman from Louisiana, Garrett Graves. Thank you so much to all of you. Welcome to you, Congressman. We appreciate your being here. Sahil, I want to start with you to just set the table here. I thought it was very notable that when I asked Troy Jackson if he wanted the endorsement of Graham Plattner, he said no. I mean, he is putting about as much distance as he possibly can between him and Graham Plattner in this moment as he waits to see if and when he's going to drop out.
Yeah, that's right. He's walking a fine line here. On one hand, he said there's certain issues he ran on.
Yeah.
He believes he could be, a more effective candidate to carry the mantle for. Everyone recognizes in the Democratic Party in Maine that Graham Plattner got more than 150,000 votes in the primary, which is huge. I think
to distance ourselves too.
Of the process, Graham Plattner would like to say he clearly wants a progressive to replace him, but can they really argue that they should?
The guy has no say. He's a fucking Nazi rapist.
I would argue that they actually don't. I mean, it's their fault. They got us into this dilemma here. They knew full well what they were dealing with. Graham Plattner. They did not fully vet him. His wife submitted some text messages of explicit communication from him and other women, which she said was going to be a vulnerability for him. That was over a year ago. Then you had one woman come out, and so they stood by this guy. So it's really the campaign that's to blame for this, not National Democrats. They didn't know what they didn't know. And so I don't think that they actually have leverage. But just to add to what Sahil said, you know, the challenge for the main Democrats now is they're going to have to move quickly to seize this spot. Secondly, they're going to have to select a candidate who can raise money and also unite progressives. That's going to be a hard road to hoe. And to your point earlier during our session, they're going to have to pick someone who can really beat Susan Collins, which is hard. So who can also appeal to not just progressives, but also to independents.
Congressman Graves actually takes me to my question to you, which is take us inside the Collins campaign. Who would you rather run against, a progressive or a moderate? Who do you think she's more concerned about at this point?
I think she'd rather have a progressive candidate on the ballot. I do. I think that Susan Collins has proven her worth. She's been an incredible campaigner, has delivered huge wins for Maine, and is one of the leaders in the Appropriations Committee. I think that she would be much better off having somebody who is a more liberal candidate, which brings me to the next point. How in the world do we get ourselves in a situation where you so have empowered political parties to deliver candidates that appear as fatally flawed as this guy is? Really, I think we need to take a step back, take a fresh look at this, and figure out how to make sure that we get better vetting and better candidates on the ballot. This is the board of directors for America.
What also is true about voters, and this goes back to Trump running in this last election as a populist, which is seemed to me to be putting their pocketbooks ahead of and overlooking all these indiscretions from Trump to Plattner. And I think that is an interesting fact that we have to give credit to and really find a candidate that can speak to this.
You and I were doing a show, and it's amazing seeing the change in elections over the last 7 years, where you have voters calling for folks that are going to be disruptors and wanting to see that big change, that big disruption. And I think that
on economic issues,
but I think across the board, realizing the status quo government is not satisfactory, they're not okay with it, and wanting to see that disruptive change. And I think, as you said, putting pocket of many other things is definitely a trend.
It's such an important point, Sahil, because you are seeing, when you see those rallies that Graham Plattner was able to get all of those people, as you say, his vote total was significant. The fact that he had these huge endorsements, I mean, can the party even find someone who energizes voters in Maine in that same way? That's the big question for Democrats right now.
It's going to be very difficult. I think we've seen in this primary and over the last several years that voters have a higher tolerance threshold than usual. I'd say for controversy, of course, they have their limits and they have their red lines. And Graham Plattner seems to have crossed the Democrats' red line on this one. I do want to add some reporting on the National Party. I spoke to two sources on the ground in Maine who say there are Democratic Senatorial Committee staffers on the ground in Maine. That part is true. I reached out to the DSCC about this because there are some allegations flying around that they're in there to take control of the process and kind of usurp it away from the Maine Democrats. The DSCC flatly denies this. They say it's false. They say they're continuing to defer to the Maine Democratic Party for the entirety of the process. What they do have, however, is resources, and it's not untoward for local parties to take advantage of those resources.
And that's what I heard from the DSCC too. They were like, it's only in our interest to let the party select it, for us not to have a heavy hand and put our hand on the scale.
Very quickly, though, do you think this weakens the progressive brand at this critical moment, or in any way overshadows it?
I don't think it does. I mean, if you want to call it, the Progressive Party has had such sweeping wins over the last year and a half. So I would say it actually, I mean, I think this primarily the responsibility falls on this particular campaign and this candidate, and it doesn't reflect on the larger progressive movement.
Congressman Graves, let's talk about Mitch McConnell. We know that he has been dealing with some health issues. There are all sorts of speculation online. You have top Republican senators, John Thune, John Barrasso, saying they've spoken to him. Do you think this is a moment where the McConnell team needs to come out and provide more information and more transparency, quite frankly, about what's happening.
Look, you can go back and look. You have had both Republicans and Democrats over the last several years that have disappeared. And I could go through and name names. I'm not going to right now. But both parties have seen it. Do I think that voters deserve transparency? Yeah, absolutely they do. I think they do. And I think I've seen situations where elected officials have not handled it well. And I've seen situations where they have, where folks have literally worked through cancer treatments and other really intense activities and been able to deliver for their constituents. I think they deserve transparency. I think the leadership deserves transparency. And I think that there needs to be somewhat of a shot clock. But the main thing is, this is up to the voters in Kentucky.
Well, the Democratic governor, Andy Beshear, writing this letter, as public office holders, we have made a commitment to our constituents to do our best to represent them and always be transparent. I believe this requires clear communication about one's ability to serve. He has the ability, if necessary at any point, to replace Senator McConnell should he step down or otherwise. Talk about this moment and this letter from Andy Beshear.
Should he step down is the key to that. Because right now the governor is sending this letter. We reached out to Senator McConnell's office. They're not engaging on this letter. Mitch McConnell has no political pressure to deal with anymore. The only folks who matter here in terms of his constituency is the Senate GOP conference. And it seems like John Thune and John Barrasso say they spoke to him. Fascinating how everyone seems to have a 20-minute call with him. Nothing more, nothing less these days. But look, the Senate is back next week. They're here for 2 weeks. And then they're revealing as little as they can get away with.
Ashley, what do you make of this moment? We should know you are a long-time staffer on Capitol Hill. You worked with Nancy Pelosi, so you're no stranger to moments that are challenging. What do you make of it?